Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. Today we're filming with a new camera, so if things seem a little bit off, that's probably why, but I'm sure we'll get through it. Today's video I didn't even think I was going to make. So a few weeks ago I changed the oil, my BMW M4, which I do every winter because it requires an annual oil change. I filmed the whole thing and then I decided not to upload it because I thought, nobody's interested in that. So I did a poll to see if you'd be interested in me changing the oil on my GMC Sierra AT4. And about 2/3 of you said yes. So today, we're going to change the oil in the GMC Sierra AT4. Let's go. So let's take a closer look at some of the supplies and tools we're going to need to do this oil change. So first, I went with this oil filter by Fram. It's made for synthetic oils because we're going to be using a full synthetic today. This one is one of the top 5 rated, depending on the reviews that you read. It's gonna be better than the standard oil filter that you would normally get with the oil change if you take it to the dealer. And then we have our Pennzoil Ultra Platinum Full Synthetic 0W20. This is Dexos 1 certified, so we're okay. It is the right spec for the engine. Make sure you check your owner's manual and get the engine oil that's right for you. I've read a lot of great reviews on this stuff. I use a Euro version on my BMW M4, which is a very high horsepower engine for a small displacement. It's got turbos. It is a sophisticated machine, and that oil is very, very good in that car, and this is also very highly rated. I also have a couple different wrenches here. You have a multi-tool wrench like this. I like this one because when I do the oil changes on my kids' cars, I don't have to go look for the right socket because they're all different. So this pretty much has the right one for any of those scenarios. But in this case, I know it's a 15mm for the drain plug on the GMC Sierra. We also have our oil filter wrench here. This is a claw type. You can get some with a band. You can get some that are a cap, almost like a socket, and then your extension fits into that, and then you can loosen it off. I have that for my BMW, but I don't happen to have one for this size of filter, so I think the claw will be just fine. We've got a nice big funnel so we don't make a mess. We have some nitrile gloves. We have a flashlight because it's going to get dark under there. It'll help us see. We also have this reservoir here for the old oil. The vehicle takes about 8 quarts. This takes about 10. So we should be able to drain the old oil out and still have a little bit of room to spare. We also have this battery tender here by C-Tech, the MXSS5. It is going to be clamped to the battery just to condition it and bring it up to full charge while we have it here sitting in the garage. So let's go. So I got 2 different color gloves on so I can remember which hand's my left and which is my right. Joking aside, the truck has been warmed up. You'll want your engine warm. Not too hot though, you might get burnt, but it's warm enough now so the oil will have more viscosity. It'll flow out of the engine a lot quicker when I pull that drain plug out, which is what you want because you want to get rid of the old oil. Now I like to use a little bit of a tray underneath of my reservoir. So if this splashes, it's going to splash on the tray. You see I got a big piece of cardboard here. It's also because I don't want to get super dirty because we still have a lot of snow. It's currently melting, so I had to rinse off the truck already just to be able to bring it in the garage. But it's going to be a little bit dirtier under there. So when you see all the dirt in the undercarriage, it's because of the time of year we're doing this oil change. So here's our drain plug right here. We are going to start with that, and let's see if I can try not to make a big mess because I know the internet likes to criticize. So now it's loosened. I'm just going to move the camera because I don't want to splash it with oil. Perfect, and that's all the oil I got on me. Not too bad. I know the challenge is to get none, but who cares? So now we're just going to let that drain out. Okay, you can see the drain plug, there's just a trickle of oil here. So we'll let that just finish up. We are going to use the claw and loosen the filter. Just counterclockwise. So the good news is none of this stuff has been over tightened. So that's good. Makes it easier to get off. And we know the seals aren't pinched, which is why it hasn't been leaking. Now here's where it can get tricky. Since this is pretty much done over here, I am going to plug the hole so I can move my reservoir underneath where the filter is going to be. And then we're just going to spin it off, trying not to let it fall, but you can see a lot of oil is going to come out, but it's going right into the reservoir right now. We're okay. I've got rags too, just in case. But you'll feel the threads let loose. A lot of oil pouring over there. Just let it finish. Now I'm trying to keep my garage floor relatively clean. That's why we're taking our time. Not in a rush, nowhere to be. There we go. So I just turn it upside down and leave it in the reservoir. So there it is draining. Now we'll get our new filter ready to replace that one. So here's our new oil filter. There's a rubber seal on here. We want to lubricate that a little bit. We're going to use some of the new oil. Some people just dip their finger in the old oil. Probably not going to make a big difference, but I'm just going to put clean oil on here and then thread it back in place. Put a little on the threads there if you want. Now we can put it back on. Okay, we have our new filter here. Just nicely twist it. Let it catch the threads. Now, this just needs to be firm, hand tight, and a little bit of the turn with the wrench is fine. So there's hand tight. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more with the wrench. Now back to the drain plug. Just gonna pull it back out for a second and talk about the washer. So on this drain plug, there is a rubber gasket. Some drain plugs have a crush washer made out of thin copper that needs to be replaced after every use. This one being rubber, we're okay to keep using it. It's fairly new, there shouldn't be any cracks or anything like that. So we're just going to put it back in. But you can see I got a little bit of oil still wanting to drip out of there. So I'm just gonna let that finish and then we'll put this back on and do not over tighten it. I'm just gonna wipe it down first before I tighten it up. And we're just making sure it's snug. Do not over tighten. There we go, we're done underneath. Okay, everything's nice and snug underneath. Now we get to add our oil. Let's take the cap off. Put it somewhere safe. Add our funnel. And this is 5 liters. I need about 7.5 or 8 quarts. We should be able to pour this full one in and then part of the second container. Some people pour this way and they get an air bubble. I like to pour sideways. You can also pour with the handle at the bottom. So just depending on kind of the area that you're working with, do what works best for you. But doing it this way, you're gonna get an air bubbles. We wanna go this way. Now there's no air locked in there and we get a nice smooth pour. So in our second jug, we've got these nice measurement listings here. I'm gonna go down a couple liters to the 3 mark. Then we're gonna start the vehicle because the oil filter doesn't have any oil in it. So we need the oil filter to cycle and then the level should return to normal. Then we can pull the dipstick and see how much oil we need to add. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there and I'm gonna give the engine a quick start. Now we just need to start it for a few seconds, get the oil pressure going, then we can shut it off. We have oil pressure, that's a good thing. Just pulling the dipstick here, give it a little wipe before we read it. There you see the oil is on there. So now we're down just about 1 liter. So if you haven't changed the oil in the specific vehicle you're working on before, you might just want to be safe, not give it quite enough. Check your dipstick, give it a little more, check your dipstick, and that's okay. Because if you overfill it, then you got to go underneath and you've got to drain a little bit of oil, and we don't want to do that. So I've done a few readings here, and now we are full. So let's just tuck our dipstick back in there, take our funnel off, put our cap back on, make a mental note of what we've done. So we have taken the drain plug out, it's been retightened properly, we've taken the oil filter off, lubricated it, reinstalled it properly, so we know everything's tight underneath. We've ran the vehicle once, make sure the oil filter got filled with oil, and we've checked our dipstick levels and topped up accordingly, so we should be done. I'm gonna leave the battery conditioning for a bit, and in the meantime, I'm gonna get all my stuff cleaned up and deal with the old oil. Now be responsible, don't throw your old oil in the garbage. There's lots of places locally that'll take your oil for free. Just don't throw it in the landfill. Well, there we go. We successfully changed the oil in the 2021 GMC Sierra AT4. This is totally a DIY project. It may not be for everybody. I paid to have my oil change. I've done it myself. In a case like this, I'm probably saving around $50, and I know it was done right, and I'm happy that I did so. So if it's something you want to try, it's okay to do it even if your vehicle's under warranty, as long as you do it correctly and use all the correct approved parts for the vehicle. But if you like today's video, it's just a bit of a DIY, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time. Ooh-wee, look at that, a healthy battery.